The San Francisco 49ers season comes to an end, absolutely embarrassed in prime time in the divisional round of playoffs against the Seattle Seahawks following a 41-6 loss. We'll get into it. There is one silver lining to all of this that we can find, and maybe we'll see if we can find some game balls to give out after a debacle of an end to the season for the 49ers in the playoffs on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker at BD Peacock at Coach Crocky. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On the number one sports podcast network. What a season it was. So appreciate everyone for tuning in with us all season long. It's going to be our final rapid react as there will be no more football games for the 49ers this season. We will be talking a lot every single day about the offseason and getting ready for 2026, though, as we do here every day on Locked On 49ers. So stay tuned with us and hang out and check out the Everydayer Club. A lot of draft conversations will be happening here, a lot of free agency and all that stuff. But we got to break down this football game that was a brutal one for the 49ers. And today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. None of that action will involve the San Francisco 49ers the rest of the way. 41-6, Croc. The 49ers lose in Seattle. And as bad as the beatdown was 2 weeks ago when the 49ers lost the NFC West against the Seattle Seahawks, this one was even worse. And folks that said, man, the Seahawks could have beat the 49ers even worse in that game if things had gone a little different, this is what that looked like. The dam broke and the 49ers could not stop it. There was no bending. It was just broken for the San Francisco 49ers. 3 touchdowns from Kenneth Walker against the Niners in this one. But of all the things that, you know, we're breaking down the game, and it was going to be a tough game. The Seattle Seahawks were clearly a better team on paper. They had just beaten the 49ers really bad, Croc. And we talked about how, there's not a lot of margin for error for the 49ers in this game. A lot of things have to go right. And for all the things that need to go right, we talked about the third phase for the 49ers. And the Niners lost all 3 phases. But the one thing that can't happen in a game like this for the 49ers, that you need to beat a better team and try to do what you did last week against the Philadelphia Eagles, is let them open the game in their house and go crazy after a long kickoff return for a touchdown. And it was really not ever a ball game, Croc, in this one.
Now, the 49ers lost this ball game in the first quarter. And, you hold out hope and feel like, at some point they can kind of get it going. And you're looking at, get the ball back after halftime. And, you're looking at all these different scenarios on how the 49ers can get back in this game. But clearly the 49ers just shorthanded. One of the things that I talked about in our keys to victory was, special teams. 49ers got to win that. We keep talking about offense, defense, but the 3 phases to the game. Well, in the first quarter, the 49ers lost all 3 phases and essentially kind of lost the game there. I'd say this game, not to this extent as far as the butt kicking that the 49ers got, but just how they kind of looked a little hopeless for most of this game was what I expected to see more of this season, right? Just with all the injuries. And I think sometimes people would listen to the podcast and kind of get our sense of vibe and be like, the vibe is, they don't look too excited about this game. And because I knew the 49ers kind of fighting with 2 arms behind their back for most of this season. And shout out to the coaching staff. They did a hell of a job, at least making this team very competitive throughout the year. But like you said, the dam kind of broke in this game and things just started going downhill really fast. So it was tough. It was tough to kind of watch it, but I didn't feel any type of way watching it because they exceeded expectations. They exceeded any expectations I had. I don't like the whole, you're playing with house money. I know people say that, and I understand it. I get it. But when you're here, you're here. And you want to try to make the most of it. 49ers didn't, but hell of a season.
Yeah, you don't want to have that kind of a showing and be non-competitive, and the 49ers were in this game. But I agree with you, Croc. We were talking earlier this season, like, man, which week is it? And you see some games. There was the second Rams game, and then there was the Houston game. And And you start to see, it's like, man, it's really too much. How can this team really compete and go on a run and even make the playoffs? And the 49ers, against all odds, did that. And so it was phenomenal to see the 49ers get here. But it was also a stark contrast watching the Seahawks play. And the Seahawks might be just the best team in the league right now, playing at a high level, and they go run the table and win this thing. That's entirely possible. I think the 49ers did probably see the best team in the NFL on this night, right? And it was just too much. But kudos to the 49ers, and it was a fun season, and it was improbable the 49ers were here. And we had talked about it a few weeks ago, or a couple months ago now at this point. Like, enjoy the ride. Don't have too many expectations. And if you told us in week 5 that the 49ers were going to win a playoff game, you would have thought that was going to be almost impossible without Bosa, without Warner, knowing that Brock Purdy had gotten hurt and missed extensive time, and Kittle getting hurt 2 different times. It was just too much for the 49ers on this night. And it was amazing that it wasn't too much even earlier in the season to see a game, more like this. But you don't want to ever, come on, it's the rival. I know a lot of people like to talk trash with Seahawks fans. They've got scoreboard on the 49ers for this whole offseason. And that Seattle team might hoist the Lombardi too, because I think the big thing that we saw that we've said can't happen, and God, would it happen this way again with how badly the 49ers were beat up front against the Seahawks 2 weeks ago? They were beat just as bad again up front. The 49ers were physically dominated by the Seahawks in this game. And on top of that, the Seahawks were not only more physical and stronger, they were much faster than the 49ers. It looked like varsity against JV, Croc.
The 49ers had no answer for what the Seattle Seahawks wanted to do or were willing to do. Before getting on the air, I said, man, 49ers scored 2 touchdowns in 3 games against Seattle, right? And that's an ass kicking. Obviously, the 49ers shorthanded. And I tweeted out as the game was kind of dwindling to an end, I said, I think the 49ers need to give Brandon Ayuk his guaranteed money back, because you could see how the 49ers could utilize him right now. And the comments were definitely not in favor of Brandon Ayuk. They're like, nah, he quit on the team, etc. But essentially what I'm saying is the 49ers don't have someone that can win the matchups that are needed to win on this current active roster. And when I say active, I mean outside of even George Kittle, he had a tough time with it in the previous game, week 18 as well. So who's going to beat these guys? And I think the head coach for Seattle, who's running the defense, said, if they can't get open against it, they can't beat man, then we're going to make life miserable. We're going to keep everybody closer to the line of scrimmage. The 49ers continue to line up in these condensed formations, which I think is continuing to help allow them to have more guys essentially in the box and ready to trigger on the run. And I think it made life difficult on the 49ers, not having a guy that the opposing team felt threatened by at all. So that makes life tough. We talk about the offensive line. I think there's a lot of people, man, Brock Purdy was running for his life. There were times where he actually had a lot of time, but nobody's open. So I think half the time where he looked like he's running for his life, I think the O-line held up well. But who's beating man coverage?
Yeah. No.
So I say, you get Brandon Ayuk his money. But essentially what I'm saying is the 49ers need someone who can beat man coverage. And that was clear. And this is coming from someone who was like, kind of plug and play. Kyle Shanahan likes his system. But when you see a game like this where it is evident that there is nobody on that field that can win the way that the 49ers need them to win, and not everybody's going to be built to be able to challenge the 49ers in that way. But Seattle definitely is. And I don't think that's going to stop after this year. So you have to find someone, whether it's Ayuk or someone else, that can win those matchups, especially when you need it, because it's not Juwan Jennings. It's probably not going to be Kendrick Bourne. It's probably not going to be Robinson. Pearsall can win a matchup, but I don't think it's going to be anything that's consistent. So who is that guy?
I think both of those things are true, Croc, looking ahead too, because the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan doesn't, except for it was pretty extreme this year with how often he targeted Christian McCaffrey, but that hasn't been the case, especially with running backs in the past, or especially with one receiver in his offense. And unless you go all the way back to, Julio Jones in Atlanta, he doesn't force feed one guy necessarily in the passing game, especially downfield passing game. But at the same time, you have to have guys who can win. and win on the routes and make plays after the catch. So the 49ers are not making plays down the field. They're not separating, getting open quickly in routes, and they're not creating after the catch either. So they're not making it difficult and threatening teams, and especially in this game, on any level of the field. And so, yeah, they absolutely need to add some speed, add some juice on the offensive side of the ball, even a little bit on the defensive side of the ball. Although, we know how undermanned that side of the football has been for the 49ers. So hopefully just injuries alone would fix some of those problems and would fix a lot of problems, because we did see a full strength 49ers team beat the Seahawks. It was 20 weeks ago, but we saw that happen, and we saw how different it looked at the end of the season without some of those really, really key difference-making guys. And it was a tough battle to begin with. It was a really close game against the Seahawks. And so against really good football teams, and we saw it against the Rams, we saw a couple other games like that, it just gets too much, especially if the team can match that physicality and really give Kyle Shanahan a tough time on the offensive side of the ball. Next, Croc, let's talk 49ers. I think there are some game balls to give out in this one. We got to give out some kudos to how good the Seattle Seahawks played in this football game. And get into the comments a little bit. I know a lot of people are here. A lot of people are venting right now in the chat. So lay it on us. We're here for you. And we'll finish up our final rapid react of the 2025 season next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Ultimate QB Football Legend. Well, now that it's the offseason, you ever wished to become a pro quarterback yourself? Maybe if your mind's getting into draft mode, you're like, you know what? Maybe I could save the San Francisco 49ers. Maybe I can take the worst franchise in the league, potentially some other franchise, and maybe the Las Vegas Raiders get drafted first overall, right? But now you can. There's a mobile game just for you called Ultimate QB Football Legend. In this game, you step into the cleats of a number one draft quarterback, and it's your job to lead your team to greatness to help turn a failing franchise into a dynasty. This is the number one QB career mode game on the mobile app stores, and it introduces the most realistic environment with full career control. You sign contracts, train, upgrade yourself, build chemistry, evolve with your teammates, and become a pro football legend. And Ultimate QB is totally free to play, has no ads, and works 100% offline. Perfect for when you want to sneak in a game or two on the go. Just head over to ultimate-qb.com. That's ultimateqb.com, or search for Ultimate QB in your app store. And we've got something special just for you guys. Use the promo code LOCKEDON inside the game to get a free boost to start your career. That's Ultimate QB Football Legend QB1. It's your legacy. The big game is almost here. Niners won't be in it, but there's no better way to stay locked into every moment than with PrizePicks. And since your favorite team won't be playing, maybe give yourself a little bit more excitement as the big game approaches. The daily fantasy app where it always feels good to be right. With football season coming down to its final stretch, now's the perfect time to close it out strong. PrizePicks makes watching the game even more exciting by letting you build simple lineups around player projections, no drafts, no waiting, just football action all the way through the playoffs. PrizePicks is incredibly easy to get started. All you do is you pick two or more players and you choose more or less on those stat projections on the PrizePicks app. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, Croc. Let's get into some things that went wrong for the San Francisco 49ers. Started with the long kick return. Rashid Shaheed is really fast. You're talking about speed. How about one of those? It'd be nice to have one of those on the San Francisco 49ers, someone who can house anything from anywhere on the field. We saw him making plays as a receiver, running after the catch for the Seahawks. And for a player like that, you don't have to touch the ball that many times. He carried it twice for 27 yards, had a 30-yard carry. He had the kickoff return that electrified the entire stadium to start the game. That kind of speed and that kind of player, it doesn't have to be a high-volume player. Just someone that touches the ball half dozen times a game, even 3 or 4 times a game, and that can really ignite an offense and give you quick points. But we got to talk about the tackle attempt from Eddie Pinheiro. Just to make it worse, what do you do? Like a soccer slide tackle? What are you doing, man? Just let him run by you. Like, the slide thing was really weird. He got penalized for a tripping penalty. It just made the whole thing even more embarrassing from jump.
Yeah, especially to start the game off. I mean,
Yeah.
as soon as it happened, I looked at my son and my best friend, and I said, "Oh no, this game's not starting off right." And one of the things I wanted to see the 49ers do, because I got, you wearing a 49er hat around town, playoff day. I'm at my daughter's basketball game, and I got some of the coaches. Hey man, what do you think about the game tonight? And I'm like, all right, you can't let the crowd get into it. You got to be able to run the ball very well. And if the 49ers tackle better, like they'll have a chance. And I think we saw all three of those things go against the 49ers to start this game, especially the crowd. They jump out with the kickoff return, and then you go for it on fourth down, you don't get it, and then the next time you get the ball, you fumble. I mean, it was kind of just disastrous from the jump in the sense of taking the crowd. I mean, it was disastrous in general, but taking the crowd out the game, the 49ers just allowed the crowd to really just get going. So that's tough. And I don't think it was just the crowd. As the game was really getting away from the 49ers, I'm watching 49er players not really handle losing well.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big thing. I mean, you're looking at Diamador Lenore. And listen, I like these guys. I like their attitudes. I like that they're feisty. But at some point, it's like, I got to focus on this game right now. And it almost felt like they were more focused in trying to prove how tough they were when it's like, well, look at the score.
Yeah,
there's nothing tough about that right now.
Yeah, you don't want to see DBs like
it wasn't just Lenore. I saw Kendrick Bourne. I'm seeing all these guys, and I'm seeing Ronaldo Green getting chewed out by Kyle Shanahan, and he's walking off just like this is not how the 49ers conduct themselves.
Do we have any clarification? And Kyle Shanahan's talking right now after the game. So if anybody hears in the chat, and we'll cover this in future episodes, but that was odd on the sideline with Kyle Shanahan chewing out Ronaldo Green. And then what was it? 1-2 plays later, the guy that's in the game for Green, Luter, gets beat for a touchdown. So why is he not on the field? What was going on there? We definitely need some clarification on that. And I know the beat team and the 49ers have some great beat coverage, are no doubt going to ask Kyle Shanahan about that. But we've got to get some clarification at some point in the near future about what happened there on the sideline. Really just all falling apart. It's Kyle Shanahan. He's yelling at people on the sideline. One of our topics coming up next is going to be some really questionable play calls, I think, early in that game, Brock, from Kyle Shanahan. And on the other side, it was too easy for the Seahawks. They're just messing around like they're beating up their little brother in the backyard. They're laughing, having a good time, getting turnovers, scoring touchdowns, making big plays. It just seemed too easy, and big brother riling up little brother in that game is really what it felt like. It was embarrassing is the most common thing I'm seeing in the chat from a bunch of 49ers fans, and I think a lot of 49ers fans felt personally, what's the word? Like they had been done wrong, right? By this game in a personal level when you get beat that bad, especially if it's the playoff game, especially in prime time, especially if it's a rival. And so that's one's going to stick with the 49ers. And unfortunately, they don't get a chance to play another game anytime soon to get that bad taste out of their mouth.
So right here, Sam Justice says, I'm guessing Green got pulled when he didn't get deep enough, dropped, and allowed the long completion to Cooper Kupp. So it looked like the 49ers were in a cover two, right? Now, in long yardage situations, depending on the coach, I know for me, what I tell my guys is, hey, if they need a lot of yards, then we're going to play really soft. So we're going to play more of cover two sink. So we're going to play in that window, in that hole. And if they throw underneath, then we're going to rally down and make the tackle, right? Everybody's going to trigger to the ball. Well, it looked like he kind of played in between. And just in the sense of what cover two is, I don't think he played it necessarily wrong. But with the down and distance, I think he could have been a little softer and not as, I wouldn't even say aggressive, because he wasn't really aggressive with his drop, but he just wasn't in that window. So I don't know if that's why he got taken out. And then Kyle's getting on him about it. Like, hey, get your ass back, get back, and then we can rally down and make that tackle. That's what I would have told my guy, and that's how we would have prepared. But I didn't quite like if they were in cover two. I didn't like cover two in that situation anyways, because I know that there is either the void in that area or the void in the middle of the field. So cover four Or if you want to run like a palms, maybe that's something I would have ran a little bit more of as opposed to just a true cover 2. But the way he played the flats, like that didn't look like any type of palms or cover 4, in my opinion.
I can't remember Kyle Shanahan even talking to a defensive player during the game before. That was a unique situation, and seeing that in a playoff game, really, it's like a siren going off. It's like, wow, this is not a good situation. You're panicking. Everyone's down. You're down big. You're down. What was it? 21-3, 21-0 it was 17-0 in the first quarter, and then quickly the Seahawks in the second quarter.
But you defer, because you want to get the ball at halftime. You kick the ball off. They crib it right away. So now I'm like, golly, like, dude, come on, right? As the head coach, and then you're driving, and they call the option into the boundary with Kyle Juszczyk.
You know what, Croc? We got to stop there because that's going to take a while. Let's get into that next because the game was lost, and you said it earlier, and I agree. The game was lost in the first quarter. Opening kickoff, the 49ers never scored more than what the Seahawks scored in the first 10 seconds of the game. Right? Yeah. That was it. First play of the game, the 49ers never outscored that. But if they had a chance to come back, they needed to not go down 3 scores in the first quarter. Let's talk first quarter, San Francisco 49ers, where the game was lost, and see if we can give out some game balls next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by FanDuel. Divisional round is here. It's nearly the NFC and AFC championships, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users are getting profit boost packs waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to the bets you like most. And these boosts give you more juice on the bets you already like instead of forcing you to bet something new. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too, because when you make your picks, then apply those profit boosts, you go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs are rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. All right, Croc. I interrupted you there. We had to do a quick break there. Let's talk first quarter. Rashid Shaheed houses it on you. You come back. Brock Purdy gets absolutely crushed on a drop back and more on Brock Purdy and how much time he spent in the pocket. And I love the stat they gave us on how many yards he traveled in that game at quarterback. Let's talk 4th and 1. And let's talk 3rd and 1 play call right before that as well. So let's go backwards. Let's start 4th and 1, 49ers stuffed. What did you think about the play call of the option fullback pitch play that they had designed that went for absolutely nothing on a 4th and 1?
I think it's easy to question a play call when it doesn't work. So I try to look at what Nick Saban says, process over results, right? Like, what was the process? The results could have been good, could have been bad. But when I look at them trying to do it into the boundary with Kyle Juszczyk against a team that is very stout and they're triggering and playing extremely fast because guys aren't threatened by anything vertically, especially on 4th and 1, that's when I don't quite like the play call. If you were telling me it's 2nd and 1 and you want to do that, all right. But 4th and 1 where it's like, kind of gotta get it. I wasn't as much of a fan of it. I do remember the 49ers doing that against the Saints a bunch of years ago in that game where it was a crazy shootout. They ran that same play. Kyle Juszczyk, and then he pitched it to somebody else. I think it was Raheem Mostert who he ended up pitching it to. So I've seen them do it and seen them have success doing it. But again, 4th and 1, situational awareness here against a team that is just playing super fast, super physical. I'm not sure I would have went that route, especially into the boundary, because clearly he ran out of space. I mean, he ran out of space.
It's insane to call that play to the short side of the field. The thing you need most is space for that type of a play to work. I almost wonder if the 49ers screwed that up, that it was supposed to be flipped and go the other way. That's how bad of a play call.
Well, it's harder for guys to pitch it with their left. Like if they're not, especially if they're not quarterback, or option quarterbacks, having a guy moving to his left and then pitching it to his left, that's a little bit more difficult for some guys. So you would have liked to get somebody that's maybe left-handed to do it, but that could have been the reason why he's like, well, we only have this. There was a play I called during the season where I wanted it to be the very first play of the game, but when we got tackled, we were on the right hash, but it was a naked boot to the tight end. So I'm like, well, we can't do it until we can move to the left hash. Well, in this situation, because it's 4th and 1, 49ers don't have the option to try to set it up. So maybe that was the thinking behind it, but either way, it just didn't work, and it never had a chance. And it more so didn't have a chance against that team. You're struggling to run for any type of yards. I mean, it was difficult for any type of space for Christian McCaffrey in the last 2 games against Seattle. There's no room. So we do that into the boundary. It was just questionable when they did it.
Hate the play call.
Process over results. The process to me was bad.
It was bad process. Results were even worse on that play. But I think, and I'm in the same boat with Brandon here, is the play before 3rd and 1 too. Why is there not a quarterback sneak? We said the same thing. This isn't hindsight either, because we were talking about this. I guess it was 2 weeks ago against the Seahawks, wasn't it? About the 4th and 1 where's the QB sneak? Like, what are we doing here? Tush push. Is Kyle Shanahan telling us he's so afraid that he knows his team is going to lose up front so bad that they can't get a yard on a quarterback sneak, on a tush push type of a play? Because that you're already lost if that's the case. This is the first quarter of the game, and you're trying this trick play to the short side of the field. 3rd and 1. Call a QB sneak in there. You got to and we've said this before. So getting too cute. I don't know what's going on there with that. But I hated it a couple weeks ago. Hated it in this one. And I don't know if
we have probably scared to get hurt, but then do what Seattle did. What did Seattle do? They said, all right, we're going to have a guy that carried the ball 10 times all year. He's tight end, and we're going to put him at quarterback. He's going to take the snap and go for it. Put Kyle Juszczyk there. We've seen Kyle Juszczyk take snaps. If you feel like, hey, we can run the tush push and we can be effective doing it, but we don't want Brock Purdy doing it, all right, put Kyle Juszczyk there and have him do it, and then just have somebody push him forward.
Sam Darnold, with an oblique injury, didn't throw a single pass for 2 days, or in warmups before the game, converted on a 3rd and 1 quarterback sneak 3 plays later after that. And he's already hurt. So hate that. The 49ers for sure lost that game in the first quarter. It wouldn't have mattered. You get 1 first down there, the dam had already broken, but at that point it still could have been a ball game. You're just down 7. Right. And it just kind of, it went from there. So just everything went against the San Francisco 49ers. Okay, let's try to come back. You're down 10-0. Tonjes fumbles the ball away and they get the ball back. Tonjes, valiant effort from Jake Tonjes in this game. But if he's your leading receiver, then you got problems in a playoff game, right? And we saw it with the picks where they're trying to force Tonjes the ball on a corner route, or was it a crosser? I can't even remember what it was, with Quinyon Mitchell intercepting the ball, right? And you were talking about it post game where it's like it's a route designed to run away. And you got a tight end on one of the best corners in the league trying to run away from him on this route, right? And so there's just no answers. And if you're down 2-3 scores, the 49ers aren't that. We've talked about that a lot. The 49ers aren't that type of offense personnel wise, especially with the injuries and guys that aren't playing. You don't have the bullets to try to shoot your way out of this one. You could shoot your way out of a paper bag at this point, is the way it looked in that game. So as many points as they scored against the Chicago Bears, they looked pretty inept on offense in the 2 games against the Seattle Seahawks. And I think part of it is just because the Seattle Seahawks defense is that good, and you've got to give them a lot of credit, Croc. But I think the 49ers made it harder than they needed to on themselves as well.
Another way that the 49ers made it hard for themselves, driving down before halftime, and you're like, all right, let's try to get some kind of points, right? It could be a long field goal, just get something going. You get the ball after halftime. And I think at that point, what was it, 24-6? And you're thinking, hey, if we can get a field goal before halftime, 24-9, you get the ball back, you score. It's a 1-score game now, right? And the 49ers continue to do things to shoot themselves in the foot, just to take the air out of just the team in general. And Brock Purdy, again, he was fighting for his life out there. But he ran the ball, picked up some yards, decent amount of yards, left sideline, right before the half. And he stayed in bounds and made the 49ers have to use a timeout. And I'm like, Brock, get out of bounds, bro. This is like 2 weeks in a row. It did that recently in another game where the play where he like fumbled trying to get out of bounds. It was kind of weird and like kind of this clunky play. Get out of bounds. And when you didn't get out of bounds, it forced the 49ers to use their last timeout with 12 seconds left in the half. So now you really don't have any option to throw any pass that may potentially get you in bounds. If he steps out of bounds instead of trying to get one more yard, all right, he gets out of bounds. And again, you watch it, he angled upfield instead of angling straight out of bounds. Don't know why he did that. But you get out of bounds. Now you got the whole playbook open. You get several opportunities to try to get, 8 more yards for Eddie P, who's killing it, kicking the ball right now. And you have an opportunity to score before the half. And I think that would have boosted the 49ers morale a lot. But that was another one of those things where you talk about shooting yourselves in the foot or making it more difficult than it had to be. That was a prime example on that play. Notice I didn't bring up the interception and all. He was running for his life. He was just trying to make things happen. But that play specifically, in the sense of the 49ers feeling like they're just in it, I feel like that took some out of it right before halftime.
And just like 2 weeks ago against the Seahawks, I don't have any game balls written down here, Croc. If you guys think there's a game ball deserving of the 49ers in the chat, Croc, if you have any game balls, let me know. I did like the way Purdy played. I like that he played his butt off. He didn't quit. He traveled 413 yards on his, 33 dropbacks. So 27 pass attempts. He scrambled. He was the 49ers leading rusher, 5 carries for 37 yards. Christian McCaffrey only had 11 carries for 35 yards in that game. And so, I mean, I almost want to give Brock Purdy just a game ball for how hard he played. And, it was the only play that really worked for the 49ers all night was, and it didn't work all the time, but it was just like Brock Purdy running for his life, trying to make something happen, whether he scrambles or finds somebody open, because nothing was working. You can't run the ball. You're down. They're coming after you. It was a rough one. And your receivers.
Receivers open.
Yeah. So it was a really tough ask for Brock Purdy in this one. I thought he played his butt off, even though the results were not good. So I think we got to give Brock Purdy. I'm going to give Brock Purdy a game ball just for that reason. I'm going to give John Schneider, the GM of the Seahawks, a game ball because of what he's put together with this team. And a lot of people thought he was weird letting Geno Smith go and bringing in Sam Darnold. And he hired a really good football coach. He's put together a really good football team. And it wasn't all Pete Carroll, apparently, in all those years with the Seahawks. And I think that Pete Carroll was a really good coach, but the Seahawks are a lot better off right now with the changes that were made. And so that's a top-down decision. And so GM John Schneider, they've drafted really well. You go look at their draft the last few years in the first few rounds. They've had hit after hit after hit. They bring in at the deadline someone like Rashid Shaheed, who made the biggest play in this game, has been a nice little piece for them. So you got to give credit where credit is due. And he's put together a top 2, the best defense in the NFC, and maybe the best, if not second best defense in the entire NFL this year.
And he's done it over multiple kind of like eras, essentially, right? They start talking about the Legion of Boom, and I'm like, man, like that was 10 plus years ago, when that whole thing was starting. And you heard Tom Brady talking about it and, going up against the Legion of Boom for the first time. And Snyder was behind a lot of that. I believe he was the GM too that, with Russell Wilson, they drafted Russell Wilson, and people forget this, but they signed Matt Flynn to a decently sized contract. It was a contract that was like, oh, Matt Flynn, like that's the starting quarterback.
Yes.
And they let Lil Russie, and when I say let, they allowed it to happen where he took over, where a lot of other people would have been like, well, no, we're paying this guy. Here's an example. Most people watching Brock Purdy in practice felt like he was performing at a high level. And Kyle Shanahan said, I think the last pick in the draft is the best quarterback out here. But because he had things invested in Trey Lance and then Jimmy Garoppolo's backup quarterback, Brock Purdy had to wait his turn. Snyder didn't do that. Snyder said, you know what? Yeah, we paid Flynn a lot of money. He hasn't even taken a regular season snap for us yet, but I like this third round rookie more than the guy that we just paid a bunch of money to in free agency, and he's going to start. I mean, that's ballsy.
And then traded Russ at the right time where he still got a nice return before he completely fell off the map with his career.
Yeah.
I'll get another game ball here. How about this one, Croc? Just the 49ers rookie class. Congratulations to Jordan James for getting his first touch. It took him all the way to the divisional round of the playoffs of his rookie year to touch the football. And I came away wishing we could have seen him touch the ball more. He averaged 4.7 yards per carry in this game on his 6 carries. He had a 7-yard run, which was 1 yard shorter than Christian McCaffrey's longest run in this game. And he looked quick. He looked like he had vision. He looked like a talented running back who's just not ever been able to touch the football. Maybe it would have been nice to work him in a little bit, but it makes you excited for the future that the 49ers have a guy that I think he looks like he could be a backup running back tomorrow. So I don't know what the future holds for the roster and Brian Robinson. And Brian Robinson was a nice backup for the 49ers this year. And we know how much Christian McCaffrey touched the football, and we'll get some updates on Christian McCaffrey and his shoulder and the injury in this game. He was beat up already coming in because, of the workload. Even if, he didn't talk about it, he wasn't on the injury report that much. But man, he went through a lot this year. Christian McCaffrey did. So I think it's important. The depth at running back and Jordan James looked like a dude. I liked what I saw from him and some very limited action. Wish we could have seen more from him this year, but excited for him in the future. Another sack for CJ West. There was a lot of times where CJ West was doing his jobs and other linemen, whether it's contained on the outside or the defensive tackles next to him, weren't holding up quite as well. I'm excited for the future with CJ West.
Guys were trying to sell getting held, and it's like, bro, just play.
Yeah.
And they didn't call it one time. So it's like, just play.
Alfred Collins. I know that Michael Williams is a really good run defender. I'm excited to see what he could potentially be in year 2 going forward. Siegel, he got flagged was that the first quarter of the game as well when he got flagged? He ran right through the back of, it might have been Shaheed. I can't remember who it was. It was clearly he was trying to go get the ball, but you can't go through the receiver like that on your way to the ball. It wasn't like I'm going up to get the ball. It was like the ball's 5 yards past the receiver. I'm running through his back. So, he had to get a flag on that, but I think that's what he was saying because you could tell he was saying something after the play. He was trying to go get the football, and that's what he was trying to say. It was like, that was a little egregious. Go around or do something else to go get the football because you can't go through the guy's back quite that drastic, but a good rookie class for the 49ers that looks like they could be something. And so maybe you take something like that away from this game. Seal didn't have the best game, but Jordan James, glad we finally got to see on the football field. Didn't love the circumstances that he was in the game.
A guy we didn't see much in this game was 49ers punter. Morstead, he kicked 1 punt all game, which is weird. 49ers had 6 points, but punted the ball 1 time.
That is very strange. Yeah, a lot of fourth downs. We talked about the 4th and 1. They're going for it late in the game too because you're trying to desperately come back in the game. And then they had some longer drives that ended up stalling out, and they had to kick field goals. So yeah, a really weird game to only punt 1 time in, and you score 6 points.
Yeah.
Any more game balls before we close out our final rapid react of the year, Croc? Any final thoughts on this divisional round matchup?
Oh, man. Shout out to all the listeners, man, that tuned in with us 5 days a week. Shout out to the fan base for the way they traveled all season. I traveled to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, and, I mean, it was just a plethora of 49er fans out there and had a great time with my guy John Chapman and Coach Desi, who was out there as well. So had a fun time I went to the Tennessee Titans game and got to chat with a bunch of 49er Locked On 49er listeners. So shout out to the 49er fan base, the faithful.
In the chat, let's go SF Giants. All right, let's go. Yeah, let's go. Knock off those Dodgers, man. Let's do it. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks.
Right here, real quick. What's the offseason schedule look like for the show? We're coming 5 days a week, baby. It don't stop. It does not stop.
The regular season schedule of the show. We're doing it 5 days a week.
A lot of draft content. We'll break down a ton of players. I might start diving into those guys earlier as well. But, I mean, 49ers are going to have a lot of holes to fill. They got draft pick. You got capital. We talked about the need for Brandon Ayuk, kind of missing him right now. See what kind of return they'll get on him. I'm assuming he gets traded, and they'll need a receiver, that's for sure, a guy that can truly separate. And we'll see some of these younger guys like Watkins and a bunch of these young guys, see who ends up stepping up. So it'll be a fun, content-driven, draft-driven type of offseason for the 49ers.
Absolutely. Free agency. There's going to be some trades. I have a feeling this is a nutty offseason to start already. There's 9 job openings. The 49ers have multiple, not just Robert Saleh, but Clay Kubiak getting head coach interviews now. So are the 49ers going to be coordinator shopping as well? So stay tuned to all of it every day as we do here. Check out the Everydayer Club as well. LockedOn49ers.supercast.com. If you never miss an episode, the Everyday Club is built for you. Get Locked On 49ers ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Just go to LockedOn49ers.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes. And Croc and I will be back tomorrow right here, Locked On 49ers.